and welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Charters. I'm with the United Church of Canada Foundation, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar this afternoon. I can see that a number of people are typing into the chat where they are from, so that's great. It looks like we have people from right across the country, which is totally amazing. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. Our webinar is being recorded, as I've said, and we will make the slide deck available to you at the end of the presentation. This webinar will focus on grants mainly from the foundation, but also some other opportunities that are out there in the United Church a little more widely. And our presenter today is Erik Forte. He's foundation staff. He's been with the foundation for nearly 3 years now, and he does a significant amount of work on the granting program. And if you've ever sent us an email or called in with a question, you've probably talked to him. So he has a lot of expertise that he's going to share with us in this area. And so Erik, I'm going to turn it over to you. And as we go, if any of the participants have questions, please type them into the chat box, and I'll be keeping track, and I will kind of compile them all. And if we have some time at the end, then Erik will answer them then, and if not, we will get back to you by email or by phone if necessary. So.
Thanks for that, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me good. So as Sarah said, we're going to be reviewing Grant Writing 101. We will be focusing on United Church Foundation and United Church granting options, but hopefully you'll be able to get out some more information about general grant writing. So as Sarah said, my name is Erik Forte. I am the Foundation Program Assistant, and I've been with the Foundation for about 3 years. Most of my professional career has been in fundraising and granting for various different not-for-profits. Not only am I part of the granting process here at the Foundation, in other roles I've also been part of physically writing and applying for grants, whether they're government grants or private organizational grants. So I'm very familiar with both sides of this process. What are today's goals for the webinar? One, we're going to assess what granting stream best fits the project you want to have funded. Two, how to find guidelines, deadlines, contacts, and documents that you're actually going to need to fill out an application. Three, how to fill out the application. And four, something very important, but how to explain clearly and compellingly what you're trying to do.
Erik, sorry.
But first,
Erik, it's Sarah. I'm just jumping in. People are having a little trouble hearing you. Is there a way to get maybe closer to the mic?
Let me see. I'm turning it up. Is this better? Perfect. All right, let's try this. So I'm going to now talk about who the foundation is just before we jump into the granting streams. So a little bit about the foundation. The executive of the General Council established the foundation at its fall 2002 meeting. Since then, the foundation has provided service to individuals, congregations, presbyteries, conference, and related institutions. At first, the foundation grew slowly, but over the last few years, we've had significant growth through gifts from related institutions and from trusts and endowments of the General Council, which are now actually housed within the foundation. The foundation's board, staff, and volunteers are a great group of United Church people focused on the long-term interests of the church. Something that people don't necessarily know about us is that the foundation can do anything a community foundation can do. It's run with church values, by church leaders, for the church, in the church. So a little more specifically on what we do. We provide services for individuals, grant seekers, and organizations. So for individuals, we provide short-term funds or long-term funds or the ability to contribute to existing funds. that we already have. Most of our short-term funds are used to pass proceeds from sales of gifts of stock, mutual funds, etc., onto congregations and other United Church organizations. Long-term funds are either endowed, which that means is original gift. The original gift is held in perpetuity, and annual grants are given um, are given annually by the donor's wishes and, of course, the foundation's policies. The other long-term fund option is a trust, and that's just a fund that can be drawn down over a long period of time. Um, then for service for grant seekers, so we provide granting opportunities, which we'll be talking about, information sessions like this webinar, and we help applicants gain all the tools they need to succeed in the granting process. And the service to organizations, we assist with stewardship and management of long-term assets, and we offer options to place funds within the foundation or invest directly with our same fund manager. So on to the learning objective number one, is assess what granting stream best fits the project you want to have funded. So this is a critical first step in your grant writing process. Please do not skimp on the research. It's something you're going to hear me say over and over again, is the word research. It's something that's very important when it comes to grant writing and applying for grants. You'll would be surprised at the number of funders who will actually provide grants to congregations and ministries, even though you would not immediately link them as a potential option for granting. So what grants are available through the foundation in the United Church of Canada? From us, there are 7 different opportunities, and these are listed on the slide. So there's Seeds of Hope, there's Academic Awards, the New Ministries Fund, Embracing the Spirit, Vision Fund, Aboriginal Ministries, and Capital Assistance Programs. So these are 7 options that are given through the United Church of Canada and the Foundation, but there are other granting opportunities through the Conference and Presbytery, and I would definitely say that you should check those out as well and contact them directly for those options. So the first granting option, Seeds of Hope. So Seeds of Hope is the application-based granting program of the Foundation. It's made its first grant in 2006 and has steadily increased the amount of grants available since then. There are 2 granting cycles per year for the Seeds of Hope granting program. This is a fall and a spring granting cycle. The spring granting cycle, which we are currently in, the deadline is April 15th for applications, and our fall, the deadline is October 15th. Each cycle, the committee reviews approximately 30 to 55 applications that cover a huge range of requests for a huge range of different type of projects. For Seeds of Hope, the Joint Grants Committee, the committee that reviews the applications, will assess applications based on whether they are innovative, whether they are new, how the funds granted will be applied, the project sustainability, impact and learnings, whether that's local or broader, and then if other funding is secured or if there's been show of other United Church support. The committee will decline to recommend projects that are related to accessibility, so ramp or elevator projects, solar panel projects, mission trips, or funding for staff positions. The fund, Seeds of Hope, the program will cover a wide range of categories of projects, as I said, such as seniors ministries, youth and children at risk, peace and justice work, leadership training, faith and education, outreach work, church events, et cetera, the list goes on. So Seeds of Hope does cover a huge umbrella of different sort of projects. If you have questions about specifically about your specific project and maybe if it's covered under this, we always welcome you to phone us and ask questions on your eligibility, and definitely advise you to speak with us before you apply for an application. So the next granting stream is academic awards. So there's a variety of awards related to academic pursuits. Applications to these funds are first reviewed by the Scholarship and Academic Subcommittee, who then provide the Joint Grants Committee with recommendations. There are awards for post-secondary, graduate, and postgraduate work, as well as professional development and research that will impact the wider church. So academic awards. So there's a number of different bursaries, scholarships, and awards for all different types. Some of these awards and scholarships include the McGitchie Senior Scholarship, the Roy M. Davidson Award, which is for teaching, the W. Norman McLeod Scholarship, which is for graduate work for ministries going to serve in a pastoral charge setting, the Victor Blatherwick Award, which is for postgrad work, the Bill and Anna Jensch Bursary, which is Women in Ministry, the Elizabeth White Bursary, and the Roundtree Scholarship. I know that's a lot of them, so they're all listed on our website, and you can always feel free to ask me more about them, and I'll send them out. But all the applications and deadlines for these different awards vary. So again, I would suggest checking out our website at unitedchurchfoundation.ca for more information on those if you're interested in applying. We also have lectureship grants available as well. So the next granting availability is the New Ministries Fund. New Ministries granting is done in conjunction with Edge Network and the New Ministries Steering Group. The New Ministry Fund provides grants for the formation and development of new faith communities and non-traditional approaches to Christian ministry. At least twice per year, the steering group will meet to review the applications for the new ministries that have moved through a cohort training and development program created and facilitated by Edge. However, even with this cohort process, not all the applications are approved, and some are turned back for further work. Recommendations are made to the Joint Grants Committee. Aside from additional level of scrutiny for the projects, it also allows coordination of funding for projects that have applied through both the New Ministries and the Seeds of Hope streams. The next opportunity is Embracing the Spirit. So Embracing the Spirit is a new learning network and innovation fund that works similar to the New Ministries Fund, where granting is done in conjunction with Edge. This is the newest granting option. It is some of the goals that this Embracing the Spirit is looking to fund are spur innovation across the entire United Church of Canada network of faith communities, make piloting programs easy and accessible, to create a learning network, to support existing funding programs by encouraging faith communities to experiment and assisting in early stages of idea development. As I said, this is new, and they are offering support for a wide range of projects, and one of the pluses of this is it creates learning communities for groups that are looking at pilot projects. The next one is the Vision Fund. So the Vision Fund is a United Church of Canada granting program focusing on ministry by, with, and for youth and young adults. The Vision Fund, the Youth and Young Adult Vision Fund offers grants several times a year to members of ministries of the United Church of Canada. There are 3 streams of granting. So there's bursaries for first, third ministry leaders. These grants for bursaries are awarded quarterly and vary between $300 and $500 per year. There's grants for identity shaping and transformative youth and young adult ministries. These are only awarded in the fall prior to a general council year, and these grants are $25,000 and will be given to 2 programs each triennium. The seed grants for innovative youth and young adult ministry. The seed grant applications are eligible for grants up to $3,000 per year through the matching grant program congregations or groups can receive up to additional $3,000 per project, and these awards are awarded quarterly. Sorry, I know some of you are having trouble hearing me. Let me just try to fix my mic. 1 second, just bear with me. Hopefully that is better and you can all hear me now. Another granting stream through the Foundation of the United Church is Aboriginal Ministries. These are administrated through the Aboriginal Ministries Circle and its granting committee. The Joint Grants Committee and Foundation have an oversight role as well as for those funds held within the Foundation. There are a variety of funds supporting Aboriginal ministries, including the Healing Fund, Justice and Reconciliation Fund, Dorothy Jenkins Fund, the Alvin Dixon Memorial Bursary Fund. Those are just some of the options. The Healing Fund is one facet of the United Church of Canada's ongoing reconciliation work with Aboriginal people. The Healing Fund is intended to support grassroots projects that are First Nations initiated and community oriented. It is not intended to fund building projects or to purchase furniture or capital equipment. Its goal is not job creation, but facilitation of healing initiatives for individuals, families, and communities. The deadlines for the Healing Fund is March and September 15th of each year, and the grants are capped at $15,000. The Justice and Reconciliation Fund supports projects by United Church groups that foster dialogue, reconciliation, and relationship building between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal peoples. Wherever possible, the planning and application process should also be a joint Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal endeavor. And the Dorothy Jenkins Fund, this will support initiatives that focus on priorities named by Aboriginal communities of faith served by the Aboriginal Ministries Council. And finally, we have capital assistance programs. So these are grants and loans where congregations should look for when they're looking for help with renovations, accessibility projects, and modernization work. So the capital assistance program provides assistance for renewal and development of congregations, camps, education centers, community ministries, and chaplaincies. There are quite a few different options when it comes to the capital assistance programs. I'm not going to run through them all, but these loans and grants can range from $1,500 to $500,000 depending on what you're looking for and which one you're applying to. I would suggest to go to united-church.ca and read up more about the specific ones if this is something that would pertain to you. So there are other grants as well, such as the Elizabeth White Bursary Fund, the Good Samaritan Fund and Montreal Seniors Fund, the Clifford Elliott Spirit of Saskatchewan Fund, Conference and Presbytery Funds. So the Elizabeth White Bursaries are for Chinese ministry candidates and students and professional development funds. Good Samaritan Fund, or also known as the Montreal Seniors Fund, gives grants for seniors ministry in Greater Montreal area as recommended by a committee of the Presbytery. The Clifford Elliott Spirit of Saskatchewan Fund. This award is a scholarship up to $5,000 and it covers tuition costs for full or part-time study at the Saskatoon Theological Union. This award is focused on rural ministry. And as I did mention earlier, there are other funding options through Conference and Presbytery. It's really best to review their websites and call their offices to find out what might be available. So coming down to it, grants, which one is the right one? So I know I just went through a whole ton of different granting options that there are out there, but how do you really know which one's the best one for you, which one you should be applying to, which one you should be looking into further? The number one tip is research and ask. I can't stress enough how calling to discuss any questions that you might have about an application, any questions you might have about the granting process. It can really save you a lot of time and work and really help narrow down what you're looking for and what is the best stream for you. So some tips that I would give for really finding out what is the right one is, again, reach out and call, ask your questions, get a really the full picture of what you were thinking of applying for. And when you call, be honest. Don't try to make your request sound like something it's not. It's harder to steer you in the right direction if the person on the other end doesn't know exactly what your project is and how to steer you in the right direction. And read carefully and be careful about reading between the lines. When you're doing the research, granting streams aren't trying to trip anyone up. The goal is always to give money and support great projects. Um, and so always keep that in mind when you're looking at the granting streams. So our learning objective 2 is finding the guidelines, deadlines, contacts, and documents you will need to make the application. So 1 is finding the deadline info. Um, information is key. Sending an application at the incorrect time will not get you funding. Deadlines are deadlines, so don't risk missing it. If you can't find the deadline on the website, phone and ask. Um, Meeting deadlines is the first step of getting your application in. 2 is research. Again, back to the research topic. It's so important to research the granting stream before you do anything. What to research? Research the funder. What are they about? What have they funded in the past? Research the granting program itself. What are the criterias? What are the guidelines? What type of proposals get priority? What is the preferred form of submission? Who will be reviewing the applications? Review your project. Look inside as well. Has anyone else done what you're trying to do? Is there something that you can learn if someone has? What will it cost and what will make up those costs? Who will be involved? Who will approve it? And research what will your success look like. When it's all said and done, how are you going to measure success of the project that gets granted? How will you celebrate and share your successes? 3, review. Review the application form so you know what information you'll need, what information you'll need to supply when you're writing out the application. It's the more you know going into application writing and what you're asking, the better the application is going to be. Anticipate and gather. Make sure you have everything you need before you start actually writing it, so you can it smooths out the whole process. So learning objective 3, fill out the application. So when you get to writing an application, it can seem daunting and an impossible task, but it isn't as long as you've done your research and prepared fully. The 4 tips that can help you write your application is 1, answer the question that is asked. It's surprisingly embarrassing, but the applications are trying to be questions are trying to be as straightforward as possible, and they're looking for straightforward responses. Yes, simply just try not to think what are they trying to ask me, and just don't read between the lines. Just go straight to the question and take it literally in most cases. 2, keep to word limits. If you can say something in 5 words, do not use 10 words to make it sound better. Keep in mind the committees and people reviewing these applications are reviewing large numbers of applications. If your application is easy to understand and quick to the point, it will always stand out. It'll be much more straightforward and easier to understand, and it can put your application above others in some cases. 3, be mindful of requirements and criteria. A successful grant application is one that will be both win-win for the founder and the grantee. Refer to the research that we discussed in the last slide. Refer to the research about the funder. Think about how to explain your program in their context. If a funder doesn't ask for your full financial statements, don't send them. But if they do, obviously do. Again, answer the questions that are being asked. And 4, use the SMART objectives. So show that you know what you want to accomplish. If it's not clear to you what your goals are, it won't be to anyone else. Your goals and objectives should be SMART, and that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, results-focused, and time-bound. And again, be honest. Don't make your project sound like something that it's not. It's always harder to actually write down an application like this, and it typically ends up to be unclear what you're actually asking for. So objective 4, explain clearly and compellingly what you are trying to do. So be clear and compelling. Boil it down and be specific. As alluded to, convoluted explanations do not lead to successful applications. If you can't explain your program to an 8-year-old the way you've written it in your application, try again. When you're writing an application, use short sentences, use short words, try not to use buzzwords, and don't use acronyms. Even though the acronym might seem straightforward and obvious to you, it might not be to the reviewing committees. Once you've done your first draft of your application, cut that down by half, and then look at that application and cut that down by half, and you'll be getting close to your final product. However, always be wary not to go too short and leaving out important information. This is the balancing act of writing successful and compelling granting applications. Number 2, use the real budget. Don't create the budget to fit the application. Ask for what you need. I mean, of course, keep in mind any restrictions on granting amounts, but ask. Make sure that your numbers add up. Do not leave a request section blank, and don't fill in things like whatever you can spare. Your project deserves better than that. You deserve better than that. So ask for what you're looking for. I mean, one of the questions that I guess get most frequently is, we have this project and we need X amount of dollars to run this project. Is that too much? Tell me what number I should be specifically asking for. And don't sell yourself or your project short. If you need funds to go ahead and it's an awesome project that you're looking for, ask for what you need. 3, be enthusiastic. Let your excitement and energy for your project shine. Use active language. Make sure that the groups reviewing your application can share in your excitement, can see how passionate about you are, and why it's so important that you get the funds so this project can get through. And 4, proofread. Have someone else, someone unrelated to your project, read over the application for grammatical and typographical mistakes, as well as for clarity. This is a very important step. Make sure the person that's reviewing it can understand exactly what you're asking for and what you're trying to accomplish without having to ask for your clarification. And then use their questions they might have for you to better your application. For instance, if when they're reviewing it, they have to come to you and ask you a question and say, this isn't clear to me, it won't be clear for a committee that's reviewing the application. So it might just be a simple tweak of words or a shortening of a paragraph or adding some more information. But I think listening to an outside voice is very important when you're really narrowing down your application to its final proof. So I know that a lot of things have been thrown at you over the past half hour, but if there's 3 things that I think that you should really take out of this webinar and how to write a successful application, it would be research everything. Again, research your grant options, research the organization, research the application guidelines, deadlines, the application itself, um, and research other similar projects that might have been done in your area locally or maybe across Canada. And then if there are, reach out to those people and ask them if they ran into any issues or what their success was. This can help quite a bit in forming a successful application because you get a really good idea of what this project could be. Number two is be clear and concise in what you're writing and asking for. Remember, you're one of potentially hundreds of applications that one committee is reviewing. So be compelling, show why your project is awesome and why it needs granting, but make sure to be clear and concise and not bog down an application with unneeded information. And then three, most importantly, when in doubt, ask. Always feel free to reach out and ask for clarifications on something you don't know. It's better to reach out and ask your question than getting it wrong. Even if you think it's something silly that you should know, it's fine that you don't. Reach out, ask, get the clarification, and then go from there. So again, research, be clear, ask are the three big things that I would always remember when tackling grant applications and grant writing. So I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time. Hopefully I answered any questions that you might have had going into this. Again, I apologize for the sound. Apparently we've had some problems with the microphones. But I would be happy to
So
answer
we have
any questions that
Eric,
people
it's
might
Sarah.
have
We
at
have a
this point,
question about
to the best of
research
my ability.
and
So please feel free to
where
type
you
anything
might
into the
suggest to
chat.
do some of that. Like, is it just Google, or are there other things to do?
Yeah, I mean, the internet is a great resource. I think when you're looking at research, I always start with the internet and Google everything that we went over. So I would Google the organizations and really get a good sense of who they are. Google any other related organizations to you that might have done projects. And then I think another great resource is reaching out to physically calling or meeting with other groups if there's someone local to you that has done something similar, use them as a resource. People are always really welcome to share their personal experiences with projects
We have
and
a
granting
question
systems. So
about
I would also suggest speaking to
the
people directly,
criteria
whether
that the
it's
committee
meeting up
uses
with
to
them for a cup of
evaluate
coffee or over the
applications. Can
phone.
you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
Um,
So for Seeds of
Maybe a
Hope,
little bit of both.
there's usually direct criteria. Most people, do you want specifics or just a general criteria, actually? Okay. Okay. So general criteria, I would most people put that thing online or along with their applications, um, speaking their specific criteria that they're looking for. Um, for the Seeds of Hope granting, um, it's really looking to support new and innovative um, projects. Um, sorry, it's looking to spur new and innovative projects. So the criteria is really, is this new? Is this a pilot project? And then what are the funds getting used for? So that's something I did touch on earlier on in my presentation. They typically don't
Okay, we have
grant
a question
Seeds of Hope
about
grants
the
for
differences between
things like
some of the granting streams
building
because,
costs for accessibility projects,
as you
staffing
said,
costs, things
they're
like
all
that.
kind of focused on new and innovative pieces. So if you could just try to elucidate a little bit more on the difference between Seeds of Hope new ministries and embracing the Spirit in terms of
Okay, so yeah, so Seeds of Hope, they give for new innovative pilot projects. However, it's typically for um, um, it's not for multi-year granting. It's for one-time grants to really get the project off the ground. Where new ministries, that focuses on there's more multi-year funding for their projects, and that's one. Again, and that one's with Edge, and so you work closely with Edge and to discuss your application and to discuss what project you're in, and they can really help you through the process and think out that project. And for embracing the spirit, that's a again for new innovative projects, but it's special in a way where there's many different levels to embracing the spirit, from entry level grants up to large grants. And for that one, it's I think the learning communities is the big aspect for me. Um, they set up peer-to-peer groups, and you really have someone to speak with. And again, that is through
yeah,
Edge
I
as
might
well.
just
You'll be
say
working
that
with close with Carla on that.
new ministries
And I
is
would
really
suggest for
about
both of those
creating
to
new
reach out
communities of faith.
to Edge to
Uh,
discuss that. Sarah, is there anything you would want to add?
and so that's different from what Seeds of Hope is about, where that's more program or project based. And then the Emerging Spirit, which is the newest one, is trying to fund a lot of smaller programs, projects that will bring about change in the way ministry is done in the church. And so those are small pilot tests to see whether or not something's going to work, whether or not it's going to be replicable. Um, I see that we have a few people typing, but we don't have any other questions at the moment. Um, so I don't know, Eric. Are there? Oh, somebody wants to know what the R in smart was for the goals and objectives for a project.
Yeah, let me flip through my notes really quickly. Unless,
I
Sarah,
think
you
it's
have it off the
results
top of
based
your
or
head.
results oriented. So it has to be a realistic. Yeah, I've heard realistic before too, but it's
Yeah.
about being specific in what the outcome's going to be. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, results focused. And again, I'm going to make the slide deck available to everybody, so you'll have that.
Um, and we have a question about grants supporting operations or capital projects and what the foundation's role is in that. Eric, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so for capital projects, there's a bunch of loans and grants through the United Church that are offered, and depending what you were looking for and what you were looking um, to do, my contact information is up now, and I'd be happy to run through all those different options with you and steer you to colleagues of mine that can go through it with you as well. But in regards to operational costs, Seeds of Hope, um, I don't know how to put it. It's operation costs are a tricky one. Um,
Yeah,
so do
I
you have a good way of
I would say that
phrasing
on the whole, the
Seeds of
foundation
Hope and
doesn't fund
operations?
operation or capital costs. There may be certain costs of running a program that might fall under one of those two categories, and the program might receive funding, but applying for any kind of grant to make adjustments to a building or to run ongoing programs or projects or ministries, that's really not what the foundation does. The capital assistance program would do some of that. It's possible that if it's a new ministry start, that might come under new ministries or embracing the spirit, but those two categories in and of themselves don't typically receive funding from the foundation. And on that note, the capital assistance grants are not available to all churches. It depends on your revenue level and your asset base. So they're available to small to medium-ish size congregations. But if you look at the United Church's website and search capital grants, you'll find the exact criteria there. We have a question, Eric, about whether or not available money ever goes untapped.
Sometimes it does go untapped, but it becomes available in the following years. It all depends on the volume of applications that come through, the quality of applications that come through. Um, but it does occur sometimes where um, some money is, quote, untapped. Um,
Okay, I
and
think
it also depends on the granting
I think
size
we've
as well.
answered
Some
all the
funds
questions that were
have
posed.
a ton of money to give
Um,
away
so I will say
to
thank you to
support
everyone for
projects, and
coming
some are
and
smaller.
reiterate,
So it all
please
depends
don't
kind of on
hesitate to
what
call
projects
or
will be
email us if you
getting
have further
called.
questions. And Erica, is there any last comments you want to make? We'll send out the link to the recording, and you should
No,
be able to click
thank you
on the
for
little
joining us today.
screen
And
there
yeah,
that
please
says
reach out to
Files
either
2
Sarah or
and
myself if you
download
guys have any questions or want to go over your options in more detail. Again, that's my contact information. So please